the world's greatest fun frolic, with its beach miles long, all peppered with people, the place where merriment is king. Let's mingle with 1 million folks. Folks who are
All right,
just
let's
like
start.
all of us. 100,000 youngsters and oldsters, all swimming, playing, or resting, all getting their share of the sun and the fun.
We're gonna
All
do a
refugees from the city heat, here where the beach meets the cool Atlantic. Here in this great world
tribute
full of
piece
joy.
to
Here for our lark at Coney
the
Island,
cover to Hulk number
world's biggest
340,
isle of fun.
done by Todd McFarlane. But instead of doing it Wolverine and Hulk,
Take it easy on the
I'm gonna do it
$4 billion
as
boardwalk.
Faust, Love of the
While
Damned.
others snap pictures
So
for proof back home that they really were part of this fun-seeking throng.
that's all the explanation for that.
With amusement here, there, and everywhere, it's hard to decide where to start. Rivers of humanity and carnival
And if you've
moves
noticed
pour through
from
Coney's many streets.
the title of the stream, this stream will be the last in a while, for a while. There's reasons why I'll start getting into a little bit. Let's see.
Step right this way, friends. You can't go home without a permanent souvenir. Take your places. That's right. Now, very still. A big broad smile. What's the birdie?
Reason why I'm gonna be getting away from this is mostly because it's not going the way I thought it would. I started this thing a few months ago and I thought it would grow, but it hasn't. Instead, it's just stagnant, and it's not doing what I wanted, which was to put myself out there, put my stuff out there, and to make money, which I'm not doing. I'm not doing any of those things. And because of that, I've just been doing a lot of thinking, and I've decided that it's not worth my time, as well as the viewers' time, putting out such a boring product. Especially one that's not really doing anything for me financially, creatively. I know the stream is not very good, but I can't figure out what I need to do, and I can't do it while I'm in the midst of streaming. So I've decided to just back away for a little bit and take this to the shed and rework it. How long it will take me, I have no idea. It may take me a month, 2 months, I don't know. But I have to pull away from this, because this is not working at all. In the beginning I thought it was, I had some positive stuff, but then it just waned, and it just became boring and just a waste. Just a waste of time. I get people coming in, if I do get people, and they would just say something, and then they would just bolt. They wouldn't stay, and they wouldn't give any type of real convos. Or if they would stay, they'd want to talk about something completely different. They wouldn't want to talk about what I'm doing on the board. They want to talk about their own business, which I was not very interested in. This stream is not for people to come in and talk about their own business. Unless I want to hear it. Unless I say I want to hear what people are talking about or doing themselves. Which I don't. It's none of my business. So, that's one thing. The other thing is money. I got into this to make money. That's it. I've made none. And people listening right now, or will listen later, will think that's petty. But I don't care. I got into this to make money. Just like any other streamer does what they do. They get into it to make money. I know it's a truth people don't want to hear, but it's the truth. But it's true. People do this for the chance to make lots of money. Some are successful, and most are not. And I fall into that, and I do not want to be that. Because I know I can be successful with this. Just not doing it like this. My original intention financially was to raise money so I can make the stream better, and then take that money, put it towards the stream, and then to better camera, a microphone, better setup here, put a Streamlabs and all that. But that's not come to pass. And the other thing was to raise money for a large flatbed scanner, and that has not gone anywhere either. So, so yeah, that's what's happening. And that's what I'm doing. And if no one likes it, tough. I have to do it because the stream is not going nowhere. So anyway, let's just do this and
before men learned how to control
more about
fire and put it to work,
that stuff
it
later.
was man's greatest enemy. In much the same way, your emotions can be your own greatest enemy. Or, under control, your emotions can make you healthier and happier, and improve the lives of people around you. I think of fire in connection with emotion, because when you become stirred up, when your emotions control your actions, it affects not only yourself, but the people around you. Psychologists find that control of emotions can be gained by understanding the stimulus-response pattern. When you have certain experiences, you respond with various emotions. Stimulus response. Just as this sort of stimulus produces this sort of involuntary muscular response. Well, that's a rather simplified suggestion of a complex mental process, but you get the idea. Cause, effect. Nature endows us at birth with three general patterns of emotional response. Rage is the response to the primary stimulus of thwarting, something interfering with our behavior or action. Fear is the response to loud noises or loss of support. And the emotional response to love is usually the result of a show of affection or favor. And these seem to be the emotions with which we start life. Then as we grow up, many everyday things and social situations become associated with these kinds of stimuli, partly by a process called conditioning. And so many things and people cause us to respond emotionally. And in general, that's good. For there are many factors involved in a personality. And a balance of emotions is important to a well-rounded personality. But emotions out of control, well, let's take a look at a slice of everyday life to understand how some stimuli can bring about various emotional responses. What might happen to you, or to me, or to Jeffrey Moore? Jeff is an ordinary and healthy and well-balanced young fellow. He usually gets along well with people. And on this particular Friday afternoon, Jeff and his pals are discussing a big triple date tonight.
My dad's gonna let me at the car tonight.
Oh, the car? Super. That sounds swell, Jeff, but, well, I don't know if I'll be able to go. I like that part of it. Yeah.
Well, how about letting Jeff, the old soda jerk, pick you up a snappy seltzer? See?
Hey, why not? Some jerk.
Okay, Bob, I saw the whole wide stunt. Now, suppose you clean it up. Go on, wise guy, clean it up.
Yeah, it's right on the floor there. Look at the wardrobe.
Wise guy, Jeff. Well, suppose I don't pick you up tonight. I got a darn good notion to let you guys walk to the place.
What's got into here? Gee, that's long. Why is Jeff angry? What's the stimulus that brings on this sudden emotional response of anger or mild rage? Well, it might be that Jeff feels thwarted as he fails in a fancy trick to impress his pals. So he gets mad at his pals. And now it's later than he thought. He tries a shortcut, hurrying to get home.
Great Scott, who in the world let that there one at time to water the lawn?
The shortcuts often lead to trouble, and thus loss of emotional control. You've heard haste makes waste. Jeff is frustrated by the sprinkler, but he asked for it. Of course, Jeff's going to get the car ready for the party tonight. He wouldn't really miss a chance to impress the gang. But, starter won't work. Again, his behavior is thwarted, and a habit is being developed. A habit of allowing such things to annoy him. Jeff's losing control of himself. His thinking is becoming muddled, and he's careless in his actions. The madder he gets, the worse it becomes. Did you ever hear anyone say, "I was so mad I couldn't see straight"? Severe emotional stress often decreases efficiency. See what I mean? And of course it's the fault of the wrench. This is called projection. He's projecting the blame to the wrench. Well, we've seen Jeff lose control of himself in rage. Let's see how the rest of the family is doing.
Mother! Mother! Oh, it's wonderful. I love the new dress. And thank you, Joan, dear.
See how the new dress tends to stimulate Joan's love for Mother? This makes both Mother and Joan happier. But how does it affect Jeff? And how does his anger affect the others?
Oh, you're the sweetest, bestest mother a girl ever had.
I'm glad you like the dress, Joan.
Oh, I'm so happy. I could be a model. Or a cover girl.
Hey, what's that in that crazy kid sister?
Oh, Jeff, don't be that way.
Notice how Mother seems to become angry herself because of Jeff's anger. Perhaps she shouldn't, but anger is a violent emotion, and we often see an induction of behavior or spread of emotion to other persons, almost like a contagious disease.
Hi, Rat.
Oh, Jeff.
Hey, what have you got? Well, it's my letter. Give me that.
Please.
You dirty little sneak. You gonna give me that letter? Are you gonna give it to me?
No.
I'll show you up.
Mother!
It's dirty hands, brother. You gonna give me my letter?
Stop it!
Will you give me that letter? I'll keep you not over my milk.
Mother, no, back here! Stop it! Not that. Okay.
Sometimes rage, fear, and love are aroused together at the same time. Mother's love of her children and her fear for Roger's safety were mixed with anger, almost rage at both boys for the part they played in the flare-up. Of course, Jeffrey's family didn't realize that he had been exposed to one irritating situation after another. An accumulation of stimuli which brought about an abnormally strong response. And what did this do to Jeff? This sort of uncontrolled emotional outburst. Well,
I hope we get
he
some rain.
regrets some of the things he said, but he can't unsay them. He's tired. That feeling of fatigue may spoil a good time on his date tonight. And if this sort of flare-up is repeated often, that might lead to a permanently warped personality. What could Jeff do to keep better control? Well, we say he could, 1, eliminate the stimulus, 2, modify the stimulus, or 3, modify the response. With these 3 ideas in mind, let's examine Jeff's episode again. To control his emotions, Jeff eliminates the stimulus, the failure to impress his pals, by trying such fancy tricks only when he can do them successfully. But sometimes the trick fails. There are many times when you can't eliminate the stimulus. Try to modify the stimulus. Standing off and looking at himself, Jeff realizes that a slip like that won't really hurt his standing with the gang. Taking it all lightly as a good sport, Jeff impresses the gang a lot more than if he gets angry over such a little thing. It helps to recognize and understand the emotional pattern. Then it's easier to eliminate or modify the stimulus. And there's another, even more valuable way to control your emotions. Modify the response. Rather than get in the habit of getting angry, Jeff can substitute. He can modify his response by seeing the humor in the situation. What good does it do to get angry about this? When just in the habit of controlling his emotions, his thinking is straighter. Push the button. No starter. Let's see. Pull the light switch. No light. That means something. Reason it out. No horn either. So, must be a dead battery. That's straight thinking, unmuddled by emotional disturbances. And it's a simple thing to call the garage or someone for a push and a recharge. No need to fly off the handle and take it out on the things and the people around. When he tries to understand his emotions and those of people around him, Jeff has less trouble controlling himself, and he and those around him are happier. The more he exercises control of his emotional behavior, the easier it becomes to meet the next situation without losing control.
Oh, how about it? Here's a plane or a letter.
And so it goes. A happier time all around when emotions are under control.
Hey, Rod. How about you help me get the compost out of the garage so we can get it started and fixed up tonight? You know, if the car's running, I can drop you off the movie tonight before I go out.
Yes, by a better understanding of the emotional patterns of everyday life, and by knowing how you respond to various stimuli, you can develop better control by eliminating the stimulus, or by modifying the stimulus, or by modifying the response. You can control the fire of your emotions. You can balance your emotions and use them so that your personality becomes more pleasant. And you and those around you are a great deal happier and healthier.
Looks like.
This boy and girl coming home from school look quite content. And why not? They're looking forward to an important day. Dinner and well, to them it is a special occasion, and has been ever since they sat down to dinner at night camp. Why should they feel that way about such an occasion? Well, let's see if we can find out. First of all, daughter has changed from school clothes to something more fancy. Dressing a little makes her feel and constantly look more charming.
See here. Let's see. Let's see. That's what we do. This other shoulder. All right.
Weeds are our common enemy, plaguing the homeowner, ruining golf courses and our tempers, cursing us with hay fever, piling up work by millions of man-hours for railroads and highway maintenance departments. But worst of all is their never-ending warfare against the American farmers. It is officially estimated that farm losses caused by weeds are approximately $3 billion annually, second only to the loss from soil erosion. Though the enemy is powerful, the fight is no longer one-sided. For here at the Dow Chemical Company in Midland, Michigan,
Anyone's ever read
revolutionary chemical killers are being produced
Faust,
to
Love of the
help rid us
Damned?
of these costly pests.
It's the greatest comic book
For
ever.
years, Dow research technicians, leaders in agricultural chemical development, have
The type of comic I want to
experimented
make.
with organic herbicides to control weeds or kill them
Type of comic
outright,
nobody wants to really make
to kill
anymore.
them inexpensively without harm to the crops they infest or to the soil. Thousands of tests in field and laboratory have resulted in the development of 4 major weed killers: Dow Selective Weed Killer, Dow Contact Weed Killer, 2,4-Dow Weed Killers, and Esteron 44. Dow Selective Weed Killer has proved highly effective for the chemical weeding of flax, peas, and grains. The water-soluble spray destroys weeds without causing permanent damage to the crops. Where mechanical mowing is difficult and all vegetation must be kept in check, Dow Contact Weed Killer is useful, such as for fence rows, orchards, roadsides, vacant lots. Dow Contact Weed Killer kills all top growth to the ground. It does not kill roots nor sterilize the soil, and so provides vegetation control without inviting erosion. It has best kill non-grasses once and for all with 2,4-Dow, and then use Dow Contact to keep the grasses under control. One of the newest and most versatile weapons in Dow's arsenal of chemical warfare is 2,4-Dow Weed Killer, proved in action against hundreds of weeds and a wide variety of crops. 2,4-D kills the entire weed, roots and all. Its victims include most broadleaf annual weeds as well as perennials. Even perennials with deep root systems may be eradicated by repeated application. Most grasses are not harmed when it's properly applied, nor is the soil poisoned. This time-lapse photography shows in a few moments the gradual killing of a common weed over a 15-day period after spraying with 2,4-D weed killer. 2,4-D is a growth regulator type of weed killer. The action is physiological, appearing to upset the plant's growth processes, causing modification and breakdown of its parts, and causing gradual but certain death. Dow set out to demonstrate the effectiveness of its chemical killers on a nationwide scale, on many kinds of weeds, under varying climatic conditions. The rich Red River Valley region of North Dakota afforded an ideal proving ground. In this area, farms cover thousands of acres, and weed control is a tremendous job. In the past, this meant fallowing the land or reduced yield because of weed competition. But today, modern chemical methods provide the answer. A plane dusts a field of young wheat with 2,4-D quickly and inexpensively. Less spectacular, but equally efficient, is the down-to-earth method. The 2,4-Dow dust, ready mixed and free-flowing, is poured into the hopper. The canvas floating behind the boom duster helps confine the powder to give better coverage and better weed kill. Early morning dusting when the air is calm gives good results. 2,4-D is also provided for liquid spraying. Spray pressure can be low, just enough to give uniform coverage. This work can be done satisfactorily without the help of the dog. The plot at the left is shown 10 days after treatment. That at the right was untreated. Treatment stopped the growth of the weeds. The breakdown of weeds is gradual. In 2 to 4 weeks, the destruction of many weeds is complete. Left to itself, mustard can choke the life out of a growing wheat crop. These pictures, taken a month after treatment, give dramatic proof of 2,4-D's ability to control this weed. Note the sharp dividing lines between treated and untreated test areas. The wheat plant at right is from a treated area. The smaller one at left from an untreated one. Annual wild buckwheat, shown here, weighs down grain by its twining growth. It often causes considerable loss in yield and makes harvesting difficult. Here is an unsprayed plant. Treatment with a special 2,4-D dust results in stunted plants like these. Stunting of wheat growth is often as effective as outright killing. This is sow thistle, growing in wheat. A young plant, and one about ready to bloom. In this plant, the growing point is killed after treatment with 2,4-D. This field of healthy wheat shows what can be accomplished through the proper application of 2,4-Dow weed killer. Dow Selective Weed Killer has proven very effective for selective spraying of pea fields. Spraying should be done on bright, warm days when the foliage is dry. It's best to avoid spraying when excessively hot or immediately after a prolonged rainy or cloudy period. The peas at the left of the scene have been treated and are almost free of weeds. Weeds are flourishing in the adjoining strips. This flax field had been summer fallowed, but it didn't prevent a heavy growth of mustard from ruining the crop. Dow Selective is also used to selectively weed flax. Dow Selective should be applied to flax and other crops as a coarse, low-pressure spray using fan-type weed nozzles. After treatment with Dow Selective, the flax is virtually free of weeds. The lower leaves of flax may be burned slightly after treatment, but the crop is not permanently or seriously damaged. In California, killing weeds in the water-covered rice paddies had always been the toughest production problem, and the arrowhead lily, one of the most troublesome weed pests. Again, aviation and agricultural chemistry supply the answer. The plane is loaded with 2,4-Dow solution. In the past, there was no practical way of fighting weeds after the rice had been seeded. The long growing period required by rice enabled weeds to mature and seed before harvesting time. But 12 days after spraying with 2,4-D, the effect on the weeds is easy to see. Area at the rice has not been treated. Compare this healthy, unsprayed water plantain with this beat-up specimen after a bout with 2,4-D. There are other weeds that like to live with rice, such as kelp, tule, and curlydock. And 2,4-D takes care of them, again without injury to the rice. Here's a sample of how tule feels sometime after a thorough spraying. And here's sprayed kelp. Tests were also made in California sorghum fields. This milo was infested with pigweed, but the area on the right has been treated and the weeds are under control. Compare the lamb's quarters on the right from this treated milo field with a healthy, unsprayed specimen on the left. Free of weeds 30 days after spraying with 2,4-Dow weed killer. In Texas, where everything is on a grand scale, even the weed problem is prodigious. Ranchers and farmers fight a never-ending battle against the plant pests crowding in on their rangelands and cultivated acres. They fight against mesquite that spreads over millions of acres, against the impenetrable encroachments of wild rose, and the creeping menace of bindweed. promise of help through chemistry aroused much interest in the Dow experiments conducted in this region. 2,4-D was used in the experiments on mesquite. Once again, 2,4-D proved to be the answer. Compare the untreated mesquite on the right with the treated plant to the left. The healthy plant here was protected from the spray. Esteron 44 does the best job on woody plants. A few new suckers may develop after the first treatment, and they should be sprayed again. Wild rose is beautiful to the eye, but Texans regard it as a major pest. One method of control is to rip it up with chains, but the roots remain in the ground to send up a new growth the following year. Chemical spraying points the way toward a more permanent control of this hardy, fast-spreading nuisance. 2,4-D kills roots and all. Several weeks after spraying, the dead, dried-out plants are ready for burning. And, fortunately, a 2,4-D sprayed range is not injurious to livestock grazing in treated areas. The tops of wild morning glory, or bindweed, are highly sensitive to 2,4-D, and a large part of its extensive root system is killed with the first application. Here's a healthy, untreated bindweed. And here's its next-door neighbor after treatment. The tops are killed. The deep roots may later send up shoots, which should be treated again. Bitterweed, which has taken over vast acreages of once good range land, is a menace to the livestock industry. 2,4-D proved its effectiveness in combating this noxious weed, which has caused untold losses by poisoning sheep. These test plots show the marked contrast between sprayed and unsprayed bitterweed. Rice is also a very important crop in Texas, and one of the serious weed pests in rice is indigo. Part of the test field was sprayed with 2,4-D, and the rest of it left untreated. This shows the contrast between the untreated and the treated areas. The indigo weed in this plot is dead. The sprayed weed at the right is brown and beginning to rot. While these tests were conducted after flooding, other experiments show that 2,4-D can best be applied shortly before flooding, when weeds are still small. In Louisiana, there are approximately 300,000 acres of sugarcane in cultivation, producing an average of 4,000 pounds of sugar per acre. Keeping sugarcane clear of weeds is vital to a profitable yield. One pernicious enemy of cane is the alligator weed. Notice the tall cane at the right, which has been treated with 2,4-D. Cane at the left is smaller, showing the result of weed competition. Here, the cane at the right was sprayed with 2,4-D. The row at the left was not sprayed, and the weeds are flourishing. Weeds sprayed with 2,4-D don't often play return engagement. This field, for example, which was sprayed a year ago, is still relatively free of alligator weed. Tests have shown that spraying with 2,4-D results in a greater yield than 3 good hoeings during the growing season. One of the most serious weed problems in Louisiana and other states in the South is the control of water hyacinth, which has spread over thousands of miles of inland waterways, hampering navigation, destroying fish, and ruining farm and recreation areas. This aquatic pest, the water hyacinth, spreads with almost incredible speed. Within 15 years after a few of the beautiful plants have been introduced into this country from Venezuela, they have multiplied so alarmingly as to call for a government survey on methods of control. They propagate from seeds as well as from shoots, and in warm weather will double in area within 30 days. Thick, tangled mats of interlaced plants float on the water, blocking navigation and clogging drainage canals. An acre of these mats contains something like 600,000 plants and weighs more than 100 tons. It is estimated that the annual damage done by water hyacinth in Louisiana alone is more than $1 million. Several millions have been spent to date in mechanically controlling this weed pest. Crusher and shredder-type dredges are used to destroy the plant in navigable streams, But the destruction is only temporary. The plants grow back, and the cost of repeated mechanical treatment is high. Recently, the Louisiana State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries began experimenting with 2,4-D, and the results offer new hope in the battle for control. The plants in these treated areas are dying and will eventually sink to the bottom. Certain large areas of pest-ridden waterways can be treated from airplanes or power boats at a relatively low cost. Tests are continuing in all parts of the country, each one extending the list of victims for Dow's chemical weed killers. Power companies, for example, are experimenting with 2,4-D in eradicating many species of brush along power lines. Here, without 2,4-D, weeds and young brush flourish uncontrolled. Sprouting woody plants soon grow to tree size and then must be cut down before they damage the overhead wires. This heavy brush is the result of only 1 year's growth. It makes the line inspector's frequent trips more difficult. Notice the difference in this treated area. After treatment with Dow's Esteron 44, much of the brush is eliminated. Traveling throughout the plant structure and roots, this chemical weed killer leaves only shriveled leaves and pulpy, rotted roots. A single application of Esteron 44 to young suckers goes a long way toward their eradication. Here is poison ivy, a noxious woody plant that spreads rapidly. After a treatment with Esteron 44, poison ivy looks like this. Notice that the grass has not been damaged. Many woody species succumb to treatment. Here is sumac, sycamore, locust, wild cherry, sassafras. None of these look very healthy. If the brush has reached considerable height, it is best to first cut the plants down. But it need be done only once, not every year or two, as has been necessary in the past. Spraying the stumps is a promising method of application to kill the root system. If shoots appear later, they should be sprayed during their early growth period for complete eradication of the woody plants. Weeds have long been a problem on our nation's fine golf courses. After 2 years' usage, greenskeepers report excellent results with 2,4-Dow weed killer in clearing weeds from golf links and thereby improving the turf on fairways. Dandelions, one of the biggest nuisances to golfers and greenskeepers alike, are killed roots and all without harm to the turf. Dandelion, buckhorn, and plantain cannot resist 2,4-D. 10 days after treatment, most plants will be past any hope of recovery. This fair golfer is playing on a course that has not been treated. When her ball rolls into a clover growth, it's very hard to see. Her temper can be ruffled, and her game is delayed while the ball hides in the clover blossom. This young lady is more fortunate. Just before blossom time, the greenskeeper sprayed with 2,4-D. Although the clover was not eradicated, blossoming was stopped, and her ball shows up clearly against the green turf. The testing and experimentation goes on. Here, a growth of bull thistle is sprayed with 2,4-D, while a portion is protected against the spray by a tarpaulin. Spot treatment of bull thistle or other weeds can be done without injury to clover. The difference, 2 months later, the sprayed plants are dead. Those which were protected are, of course, thriving nicely. The list of weeds which can be killed or controlled by Dow weed killers is virtually endless. Barnyard weeds such as burdock, dog fennel and lamb squatters, ragweed, wolfweed, sow thistle, Canada thistle, elderberry, which is particularly susceptible to 2,4-D, as can be seen in this test area. Whatever your weed problem, whether as a homeowner with a lawn and garden to maintain, a greenskeeper at a golf club,
before streaming,
a farmer with hundreds of acres under cultivation, an operator of a railroad, a sugar cane planter, or the operator of a public utility, Dow agricultural chemists have the answer.
I'll be right back.
from democracy to despotism. One to the democracy end, another somewhere in the middle, and a third. Let's find out about despotism. This man makes it his job to study these things.
Right.
So for one thing, avoid the comfortable idea that
Uh-huh.
the mere form of government can of itself safeguard a nation against despotism.
Blades.
Germany, under President Hindenburg, was a republic. And yet in this republic, an aggressive despotism took root and flourished under Adolf Hitler. When a competent observer looks for signs of despotism in a community, he looks beyond fine words and noble phrases. Many observers have found that two workable yardsticks help in discovering how near a community is to despotism. The respect scale and the power scale. A careful observer can use a respect scale to find how many citizens get an even break. As a community moves towards despotism, respect is restricted to fewer people. The community is low on the respect scale. This common courtesy is withheld from large groups of people on account of their political attitude. If people are rude to others because they think their wealth and position gives them that right, or because they don't like a man's race or his religion, equal opportunity for all citizens to develop useful skills is one basis for rating a community on a respect scale. The opportunity to develop useful skills is important, but not enough. The equally important opportunity to put skills to use is a further test on a respect scale.
Uh-huh. I see.
Is another important yardstick of despotism. It gauges the citizens' share in making the community's decisions. Communities with concentrated decision-making in a few hands rate low on the power scale and are moving towards despotism. Like France under the Bourbon kings, one of them said, "The state, I am the state." Today, democracy can ebb away in communities whose citizens allow power to become concentrated in the hands of bosses. What I say goes, see? I'm all around here. The test of despotic power is that it can disregard the will of the people. It rules without the consent of the governed. Look beyond the legal formalities of an election in measuring a community on the power scale to see if the ballot is really free. If the citizens can vote only the way they're told, the community approaches despotism. When legislatures become ceremonial assemblies only and have no real control over lawmaking, their community rates low on the power scale. In a downright despotism, opposition is dangerous, whether the despotism is official or whether it is unofficial. The spread of respect and power in a community is influenced by certain conditions, which many observers measure by means of the economic distribution and information scale. If a community's economic distribution becomes flattened, its middle-income groups grow smaller, and despotism stands a better chance to gain a foothold. Where land is privately owned, one sign of a poorly balanced economy is the concentration of land ownership in the hands of a very small number of people. When farmers lose their farms, they lose their independence. This one can stay on, but not as his own boss anymore. To the extent that this condition exists throughout a nation, the likelihood of despotism is increased. In communities which depend almost entirely on a single industry, such as a factory or mine, maintaining economic balance is a challenging problem. If this condition exists over the nation as a whole, so that the control of jobs and business opportunities is in the few hands, despotism stands a good chance. Another sign of a poorly balanced economy is a taxation system that stretches heaviest on those least able to pay. A larger part of a small income is spent on necessities such as food. Sales taxes on such necessities hit the small income hard. In the days of the salt tax, feudal despotisms were further sustained by this and others. Community rates low on an information scale, when the press, radio, and other channels of communication are controlled by only a few people, and when citizens have to accept what they are told. In communities of this kind, despotism stands a good chance. See how communities change its features.
Bear this in mind. Young people cannot be trusted to follow their own opinions. This business about open-mindedness is nonsense. It's a waste of time trying to teach students to think for themselves. It's our job to tell them.
And when teachers put such training into practice, despotism stands a good chance. These children are being taught to accept uncritically whatever they're told. Questions are not encouraged.
When you ask us a question, have you got a textbook?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it say here that I will have course to always just?
Yes, ma'am.
Then how dare you question?
And so we aren't surprised.
But it must be true. I saw this book right here.
And this book, the newspapers and the radio are efficiently controlled, the people will read and accept exactly what the few in control want to do. Government censorship is one form of control. A newspaper which breaks the government censorship rule can be suspended. It is also possible for newspapers and other forms of communication to be controlled by private interests. I thought I told you to kill that story. It'll cost us a lot of anger if that story goes out. I quit. All right. What sort of community do you live in? Where would you place it on the democracy-despotism scale? To find out, you can rate it on a respect scale and a power scale. And to find out what way it is likely to go in the future, you can rate it on economic distribution and information scale. The lower your community rates on economic distribution and information scales, the lower it is likely to rate on respect and power scale, and thus to approach despotism. What happens in a single community is the problem of its own citizens. But it is also the problem of us all. Because as communities go, so goes the nation.
Here's
someone who is developing responsibility. He's Frank Harris. Frank's paper route is a way of earning a little spending money. It's also a hard work to Frank, especially when he sees the other fellas having fun. Want to play, Frank? Well, of course Frank wants to play, but he can't now. He has work to do. He has papers to deliver. Uh-oh. Frank will have to do his work better than that. Doing a job well is part of being responsible. There's a real dog. Just the kind Frank would like to have for his own. And there's Mr. Morgan, who owns the dog. He wants to talk to Frank about something. Mr. Morgan is going to move to another town. So, Frank will have to stop delivering the paper to him. He'll be here the rest of this week, so he wants to pay Frank for the papers until Saturday. All right. You see, Frank is responsible for the money he collects. He thanks Mr. Morgan and gives him a receipt. Frank writes in his book the date to stop the paper, so he won't forget. Having a paper route is a lot more than just delivering paper. But Mr. Morgan has noticed how well Frank gets along with the dog, and who wouldn't get along with him? Frank thinks he's a first-rate dog. Mr. Morgan says, of course, he's pedigreed. Isn't that something? And his name is Pal. That's right, Pal. He's the kind of dog who really is a pal. Well, Frank has work to do. But just a minute. Mr. Morgan would like to know his name and address. Now, why do you suppose he wanted to know that? That evening at home, Frank carefully counts the money he has collected, because it doesn't all belong to him. He knows how important it is to keep careful accounts. He's responsible for the newspaper company's money. And while Dad for him, there's something Frank wants to show Mother. He has a new customer starting tomorrow. Obtaining new customers is part of Frank's job, too. Frank thanks his father for the check. Dad will keep the money and take it to the bank tomorrow. Why, it's Pal. Mr. Morgan brought him over. Mother, Dad, here's Mr. Morgan and his wonderful dog. Mr. Morgan has been noticing Frank. He thinks Frank would like a dog, and he'd like Frank to have Pal. Mr. Morgan is moving to another town and an apartment where dogs aren't allowed. But Mother and Dad aren't sure. A dog is a lot of work and responsibility for someone. Feeding him, giving him water, seeing that he gets exercise. He'll be so much trouble. Can Frank be expected to take proper care of him? Well, Mr. Morgan thinks he can do it. And so does Frank. But Dad's being very cautious. He won't agree to let Pal stay until he's sure that Frank can manage this new responsibility. So Dad offers a plan. Let Frank keep Pal until Saturday and show how well he can take care of him. But if this week doesn't work out, then Mr. Morgan will have to make other plans for Pal. So Frank has an opportunity to show that he can be responsible. But now Mr. Morgan must go and leave Pal to his new master. Let's hope he never has to take Pal back. Dad wants to be sure Frank understands their bargain. Frank may keep Pal until Saturday, but there are many things he'll have to do if he wants to keep Pal for good. Pal will have to have food and water. He'll need exercise morning and evening. He must be trained to obey, to know that Frank is now his master. Of course, Frank can't neglect his other responsibilities. His paper route, his schoolwork, his regular jobs around home, such as cleaning up his own room and carrying out the tin cans on Mondays. Tin cans. Monday. Frank must start right away showing that he can be responsible. He'll have quite a lot of work to do, but Pal's worth it, isn't he? So the next day is a busy day for Frank. Pal gets his exercise on the paper route, but Frank has to deliver his papers and at the same time... Uh-oh. Yes, Frank has to keep his eyes on Pal, too. But here's a good time to start training Pal. Show him who's boss. Maybe keep him on a leash. There. But delivering papers with a big dog on a leash can be pretty tiring. And by the time he reaches the end of the route, there goes the last paper, though. All through. But here's another paper. Why, where does it belong? Did Frank miss someone? Oh, that new customer. Frank forgot about that completely. And it's partly Pal's fault for making so much trouble. Well, nothing to do now but go back. Waste half an hour delivering that one paper. And what's more, Frank needs that half an hour. He didn't get time to straighten his room this morning. No, things don't look very good for Frank. He just can't keep up all his responsibilities. And so late that evening, after Frank has finally finished his work for the day, he has a good talk with his dad. Dad is happy that Frank has a chance to earn such a fine dog and pleased with Frank's work so far. But with so much to do, Frank must plan his time. Sometimes a new responsibility means you must make choices. Frank may have to leave Pal at home while he goes on the paper route and then exercise him later in the evening. He may have to use the leash with Pal and train him to obey. But just a little planning, just a determination to take care of all his responsibilities will clear up Frank's worries. He may have to work hard, but he's determined to do it, so he'll be able to keep Pal. That's what Frank's going to do. And he'll start by getting a good night's sleep. And so for the next few days, Frank keeps busy with his paper route, his home and school responsibilities, and his Pal. Part of it is hard work, and part of it is good fun. But Frank does his best. For almost a whole week, Frank keeps up his responsibilities. He has done his job, all of them, and he's done them well. And so on Saturday, Frank feels pretty sure he'll be able to keep his Pal. Is that Mr. Morgan now? Yes, it is. Pal has been in Frank's care now for a week. And there's one thing Mr. Morgan wants to know. May Frank keep Pal? What do you think? Has Frank shown that he can be responsible? Let's think back. On his paper route, Frank has carried out his responsibility to deliver each paper where it should go, to keep his accounts accurately, and to take good care of the money he collects. He has carried out his responsibility to give Pal food and water, to see that he gets plenty of exercise, and to teach him to be obedient. And Frank has shown that he can do these things and still keep up with his schoolwork and his responsibilities around the house. All this has taken planning and determination, but Frank has managed very well. So, of course he may keep Pal. Mother and Dad have agreed. Now, here's something else for Frank. What does the paper say? Oh, it's Pal's pedigree. You see, Pal? The pedigree papers belong to Frank now. And so does Pal.
Did you ever watch a baby being fed? You can see how completely we depend on others when we're very small. A baby just can't do much of anything for himself. Of course, as we grow older, most of us begin to strike out for ourselves. We begin to develop something called self-reliance. Often, though, we're restrained. We aren't given enough freedom to develop self-reliance. It's much easier to put Junior's snowsuit on him than wait for him to do it himself. And before long, Junior sees too that it's much easier to let others wait on him. He begins to like being dependent. Why take care of your own pet if someone else will do it for you? Why struggle with your lessons if you can get Dad to help? This is an easy way to get by. The trouble is, if you're not self-reliant, you'll never do any more than just get by. Come in.
I've been working on this whole problem. I wonder if you can... First.
Look, why do you bother me with something simple like this? Something I'm paying you to decide. You'll never get ahead around here or anywhere else unless you can make some decisions of your own.
And that's what can happen when you don't learn self-reliance.
Mr. Carson, are you trying to tell me that I'm not self-reliant?
Why, Alan, I didn't say anything about you. But I find it often helps to paint that picture for students like you who come to me complaining that they don't feel they're accomplishing much. A little dose of self-reliance can do wonders. Any one of us could use a bit more than we have.
All right, Mr. Carson, I think I understand. Just how do you become self-reliant?
Oh, you want a quick, easy formula, huh? I'm afraid there isn't any. Learning to be self-reliant takes time and hard work.
It takes self-reliance, Mr. Carson.
It almost does. Here, this card may interest you. These are the steps to self-reliance, Dry Stephen.
Assume responsibility, be informed, know where you're going, and make your own decisions.
Oops.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, let's figure them out together. Sit down. First, assume responsibility. What do you suppose that means?
Well, assume responsibility. That means to take the blame for things that are my fault.
Huh? Looking after your own schoolwork, planning your own time, depending upon yourself to be on time.
On time. Boy, I better assume responsibility for getting to my next class on time.
And Alan, why don't you assume the responsibility for figuring out what those other steps mean?
Yeah, I will. That's a good idea. Thanks, Mr. Carson. Assume responsibility. Do things for yourself. Not a bad idea at that. What's the next thing on this card? Be informed. Well, it's easy to see why you should be informed in class. You have to get facts and information in order to keep up. You have to know where to get information too. But why be informed about other things besides schoolwork? Well, better get after the schoolwork now. Mom, do you think I look like this way or should I wear a tie?
Well, that depends on where you're going. Will you be expected to wear a tie?
Be informed.
Bucky,
Oh, no, nothing yet. Thanks, Mom. I'll figure it out myself. Let's see. We'll go to the movies and then to Ann's house for snacks. I might meet Ann's parents. Better wear a tie. Be informed. That can answer a lot of problems. Yeah, that's better. Are you leaving right away, Alan? No, Jack's coming back then. Say, there's something that I've been wanting to ask you. Have you decided on what courses you're going to take next year? Oh, no. I don't know what to take, Dad. Jack's going to take American literature, and Eddie signed up for speech class. But I don't know what I want to take. Well, I hope you don't let your friends lead you around there, like. What will you get out of these courses? What do you want to get out of them? If you know what you want in life, know where you're going. Make your own decisions. What in the world are you talking about? Oh, well, I sort of want to develop a little self-reliance. Mr. Carson gave me this. Self-reliance, huh? Well, that's a good thing. Are these from Emerson? Emerson? Sure, haven't you read Emerson's essay on self-reliance? I think we have a copy of it here somewhere.
well, I think you'll find it on the third shelf.
Thanks, dear. The foundation of our way of life, someone once called it. Oh, yes, here it is. Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I learned a lot from this essay when I was your age. Thanks, Dad. I'll read it. You may have to if you take American literature. I think I'll read it no matter what course I take. What about those courses, Dad? Will you give me a little time to think? I have a lot of work to do before I make any decisions. Sure. Oh, there's Jack. Bye, Mom. Dad. Bye.
Goodbye.
Now, you may think that's the end of Alan's story. Actually, it's only the beginning. Alan learned very quickly the meaning of the steps to self-reliance. It takes quite a long while to make self-reliance a habit. I watched Alan for several months. I saw how he assumed responsibility. For example, he took a job on the student forum and worked at it seriously. I saw how he kept himself informed. He studied hard. He read more than just the assignment. He talked to people and listened to them. He wanted to be informed, and he never missed a chance to learn something. I saw how
that's
Alan
it.
found where he was going.
Let me see.
He came to me sometimes for advice, but he never asked me to decide for him. He thought seriously about his goals, his purpose. I saw how he learned to make decisions for himself, always on the basis of the best information he could get. And then just the other day, at another student forum meeting, I saw Alan show how really self-reliant he has become. The students were quite upset about our parking situation around the school, but no one was able to offer much of a solution. That is, until Alan spoke up.
Guess what is the problem? Those who drive to school can't keep on parking in the street. I understand it's too narrow. That's why we've been getting tickets there. We'll just have to find another place for our cars and motorbikes. I've been
All right.
looking at it. You know, since we got the
That's
new
it.
tennis court, maybe the old one just north of the school building could easily be made into a parking space. We could do what little work there is, and we could ask the principal for his approval.
So, as I mentioned before,
Well, sure.
this will be the last stream I do for a bit. I don't know when I'm going to be. I don't know when I'm going to be coming back. I'm going to do some retooling,
Yes, sir. That was self-reliance. The kind
so I can
we
make
all
this
do.
stream a little bit better.
It's hard work to become self-reliant, but these are the steps. Assume responsibility. Be
Meanwhile, I'll still be open
know where you're
for
going.
commissions and stuff, and if you want them.
Alan learned to do it,
All you gotta do is
and he's certainly a happy
contact me
man.
via my Twitter or email,
He developed a habit of
and you can have anything you want. I'm open to anything. You can be as filthy and degenerate as you want, or as wholesome and as nice as you want. It doesn't matter. I'll do anything for you. If you're interested in any of the things I did before, I still have them. Again, contact me through my email and my Twitter. What else? If you want a shirt designed or something like that, you can come to me and make you something, anything. I'm not going to go away completely. I'm probably just going to do less streams and more of other things. I'm also working on my book. I got like 16 pages done. And yeah, and that's probably what I'm going to be concentrating more on, the book I'm doing. So, anyway. So, that's it for tonight. Follow and subscribe. Streamlabs and PayPal if you want to donate or whatever. You can contact me through the Twitter or email I have on my channel description. So, that's it. See you whenever.